And from the Office of the State Auditor, we have Stephanie W. Tejas, who is the Director of Government and Accountability Office. And who will be singing our national anthem is Robin Christian. And our Deputy State Auditor, Natalie Cordova. And we also have some more dignitaries and folks that I want to recognize, and I ask that you please hold your applause to the end. Joining us today is New Mexico Supreme Court Senior Justice Barbara Vigil. It was a test. It was a test.
Is always leading the way.
That's right. That's right. Diego Arancon, Deputy Chief of Staff to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. Cristina Espinoza with the Secretary of State's Office. Senator Michael Padilla. District Attorney Marco Cerna. Mayor of Springer, Bo Lopez is here. The Village of Los Ranchos Mayor, Don Lopez. The Mayor of Estancia, Nathan Dial. Aging and Long-Term Services Cabinet Secretary, Alice Lou McCoy, and Deputy Sam Oinaga. The Department of Information Technology, Cabinet Secretary, Vincent Martinez. Department of Cultural Affairs Cabinet Secretary, Deborah Garcia Igriego, and Deputy Secretary Nick Chavo. Department of Military Affairs, Major General Kenneth Nava. Department of Veterans Services, Secretary General Judy Griego. Northern New Mexico College President Richard Bailey and Vice President Ricky Bejarano. Dr. Rebecca Rowley, President of Santa Fe Community College. Developmental Disabilities Planning Council Chair Amira Rashid and Executive Director Barbara Ibanez. Robert Padilla, CEO of the Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court. Brent Schiff, CEO, New Mexico Investment Council. Eric Vasquez, Executive Director, Regional Coalition of Llano Communities. Otero County Manager, Pamela Heltner. Scott Berry, City Manager of Raton. Wilson Middle School Principal, T.C. Reiser, and Vice Principal, Linda Torres. Master Sergeant Cogburn and the cadets from Wilson Middle School Leadership Program. Former OSA Deputy Auditor, Jack Emmons. And our downstairs neighbor, Robert Taliano, who's the director of the NMED. Mario Lucero, who's the program manager for the New Mexico Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And Superintendent of Insurance, Frank Francini, is here joining us as well. So if you guys give everybody a round of applause and thank them for joining us. Now we will be doing the presentation of colors. The Wilson Middle School Leadership Program will be joined by Robin Christian, who will sing the national anthem. Please rise for the presentation of our colors. All veterans may salute. All others, please place your hand over your heart. Color guard, advance the colors. Drew. Drew. Come here, Drew.
Detail. Oh. Left. Ready. Freezer. Go.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Thank you, Rob and Christian, for that beautiful rendition of our national anthem. Okay, now I'd like to introduce Stephanie W. Tejas, who's going to do a reading for us of Your Flag and My Flag by Wilbur D. Nesbitt.
Thank you, Chris. Your flag and my flag. Your flag and my flag, and how it flies today. In your land and in my land, a half a world away. Rose red and blood red, the stripes forever gleam. Snow white and soul white, the good forefathers' dream. Sky blue and true blue, with stars to gleam abright. The gloried guidon of the day, a shelter through the night. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Stephanie. To introduce our next speaker, I want to bring up our Auditor Brian Colón to introduce him.
Thank you, Chris. I want to just be able to say a few words about our true guest of honor, our Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Howie Morales, who is not just my Lieutenant Governor, he's also a dear friend. And there is nary a public servant who is working as hard as our Lieutenant Governor is, traversing the entire state, reaching out and inspiring young people in all 33 counties. And as I set out to be a good state auditor and a high-quality public servant, I get to look and reflect upon the 14 years of service in the Senate, and now in his years of service or his days of service as our Lieutenant Governor, and use that as a model of not just public service, but of humility. See, because as we sit here today, around the country, as I travel, it has become quite obvious to me that we are the envy of the country for many reasons, but not the least of which is that New Mexico has made education a priority. And the way it did that back in November was electing somebody who has a PhD in education. I couldn't be more proud of this leader. He was a leader and a titan in the Senate, and now he's doing a great job in the Roundhouse for us as our Lieutenant Governor. Please welcome Mr. Incredible, Dr. Howie Morales, also known as El Guapo de Nuevo Mexico.
Good morning. He never ceases to amaze me and make me blush every time that we're on the road together. So thank you. It's an honor to be here with every one of you. I appreciate this opportunity to be here and speak with you on such a special day. And as a matter of fact, whenever I saw the posting that was put on Facebook, it was just the announcement. I called my staff. I told Martina, put this on our calendar because I want to be there. Even before the auditor had a chance to reach out and make the invitation official, I wanted to make sure we were here. And what a special, beautiful day. The day before America celebrates its birthday, our independence, and coming together and recognizing the importance of what this day means. And it's important in many areas and significant for many reasons, and I'll share some of those. You know, I wear this tie. I'm very proud of the tie that was given to me as a gift. I wear it on two occasions, Veterans Day and Election Day, because the opportunities that are granted to us by our veterans and by the opportunity to vote, by the sacrifices made. But I wanted to wear it today because of the special commemoration that we are making today here at the Auditor's Office, and especially with the vision that has brought us here together, is the vision by our State Auditor to see things not as they are, but as they can be, and to pay attention to the details, the smallest details, which in fact, many times are the biggest, most important things that we have. So when we talk about what it means today, I'm reminded and grateful for the service that many have provided for us, and what service means. And whether you're a police officer, a firefighter, work in state government, providing for the needs of people across the state of New Mexico, or veterans, I want to recognize and thank you. So if we have any veterans in the audience today, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service. And I can tell you, during this, I think the first 183 days, is that correct, Brian? 183, 186 days. I lose track of that, somewhere in between that. I've been very inspired to work with the governor. and the work that Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has done, and to ensure that we have collaboration, interagency collaboration across the state of New Mexico. Because she recognizes that if we're going to be a state that prospers and thrives, we have to be a state that works together. And so I want to recognize all of our cabinet secretaries who are here in the audience today. If you can please stand and be recognized for joining us today. Thank you for your service. And when we talk about service, many of you that have heard me speak before, I mention the importance of service because it's the reason why I'm here today, why many of us are here today for one reason or another. And I often share a story, and I want to share that story with us today. And that story goes something like this, where a teenager walks into a gas station. And when he walks into the gas station, he sees an older, frail gentleman mopping up the floor. And he says, "What would you say if I told you I keep seeing your boots in my dream?" The older, frail gentleman said, "I would say that it's time you wake up because you can go through a whole life living your life through a dream." And the teenager comes back and says, "Hey, Socrates, if you know so much, why are you working in a gas station?" And the wiser gentleman said, "I work in a service station. There is no higher purpose." The teenager says, "Then pumping gas?" And the gentleman says, "Then service to others." That's why we are here today, to recognize the service to others by paying tribute to a flag as we raise that today. And when we talk about service, it's important to also point out that we can't mention the powerful words and the powerful works of service without remembering the great work of our senator, our late great senator, forever Senator John Pinto. Please give him a round of applause. And what makes today so special, as we raise the flag, I would hope that we can take a moment to reflect on what that means for each one of us. And the symbolism that it has, that no matter where we've been, no matter what we've gone through, no matter what the circumstances, there's always a new day and a new opportunity to rise. An opportunity to rise above, or as the state auditor will mention, to lift up New Mexico. And to be proud of who we are, and to recognize that on this day, we're going to witness history as this had never been done before. But through the vision and the work of the state auditor and all of his staff, we see that we have this opportunity to do so. And I can tell you, traveling all around the state, it was one of the most rewarding experiences, not only to go into the communities where you talk to people in every county, learn from them, hear their stories, their struggles. It was also a wonderful opportunity to get to know each of the candidates. And even though I've always been inspired and so motivated by the energy that Auditor Colón has always shown, it was especially gratifying to travel the state with people like Michael, who took such good care of us throughout the state. But you learn about the stories behind the candidate. You learn of what it is that drives them and makes them who they are. One of the things that I share is a closing story, but I think it's relevant on the celebration that we have today. And the story goes that in 1924, a gentleman who was a kayaker, he was an amazing Olympian athlete who had an opportunity to go to France and to compete. And he was ready to go. It had been his lifelong dream. And he realized and was notified right about that time that his wife was going to have her baby, their first child, right at the time when the Olympic Games were taking place. So he had a decision to make. Was he going to go to France and participate in his lifelong dream? Or was he going to stay home and witness the birth of his child? Back then, they couldn't fly back and forth so easily. They had to go by boat. So there was no way he could do both. He chose to stay home and to witness the birth of his child. And his son was born, and throughout the years, they were very close. And they took up the love for kayaking. 1948, his son had an opportunity to go on and to compete in the Olympic Games. He was there, he competed, and the father receives a telegraph. And it says, "Hey Dad, thank you for being there for me the day I was born. Thank you for all your sacrifices. Thank you for all that you've done. I'm coming home 24 years later with your gold medal." And that signifies the sacrifices and the service that's there. And when I learned of Auditor Colón and what drives him and the wonderful father and the compassion that he has for his son Rafael, it's driven by the love and the sincere service and commitment that his father showed. I can't tell you how many times as we traveled around that he would share a sign that reminded him of his father. And I share that with us today because as we raise that flag, we all have our Brian Colón father story. We all have the parts of our lives that we know that has made a difference in who we are today. And as the flag is risen today, and we pledge allegiance to it, and we go and we give the tribute that is deserved, and we thank all of our veterans, I also want to recognize to each one of you your own story and your own sacrifices that have been made, and all those that have been there to be who we are today. So thank you, Auditor Colón. Thank you to your staff. Thank you to the wonderful color guard and the beautiful singing of the national anthem that we were able to see here today. And thank each and every one of you for being part of a historical event that we're about to witness. God bless you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Now I'd like to recognize Sonia Lopez, who is with Congressman Ben Ray Lujan's office, to come up and tell us a little bit about this very special flag that we have today. Thank you, Sonia.
I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that. Those were amazing words. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here to celebrate today with you guys. I first and foremost want to say thank you to all of you who served. So yeah, it is an honor to be here to present this flag that was flown at the request of the Honorable Congressman Ben Ray Lujan for the New Mexico Office of the State Auditor in recognition of their continued pursuit of accountability, transparency, and excellence for taxpayers of New Mexico. So again, it is my great honor to present to you, Mr. Brian Colón, this flag. Oh, and the certificate, that is your own.
Next, I'd like to recognize Carolyn Burkle, who is a Deputy Chief of Operations for Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, to read a letter from Governor Lujan Grisham and present the state flag.
Good afternoon. Happy 4th of July, and also want to thank every service member here for their service to this country. And as the Lieutenant Governor said, I know there's a lot of people in this audience that serve others in many different capacities. And the person we're honoring here today by our presence and by participating in this fantastic event is a true public servant on every level. I have known Brian, some of you may know this, for over 30 years. And what you see is what you get. And it's hard to believe that someone could be that genuinely effervescent, enthusiastic, committed, loyal, and it's true. Our governor thinks so highly of him, and even though she couldn't be here today, she asked me to attend, and we think the same about Brian. I have known him for decades, and it's such an honor to be here today with him as an elected state official. And I remember our days back at NMSU, and I just think how the world comes full circle, and the state has just begun to see what Brian Colón can do. So I'm very excited to be here, and I have a brief little certificate to read on behalf of the governor. And it says this is to certify that the New Mexico flag was flown over the New Mexico state capitol to commemorate the installation of inaugural flagpoles at the Office of the State Auditor under the direction of the Honorable Brian Colón, State Auditor of New Mexico. This flag serves as both symbol and reminder of the great state of New Mexico and the people that are served by the Office of the State Auditor. Signed by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Now we'll raise the flags.
Detail, forward, march. Detail. Oh. Post. Colors. Frieza, arms. Order, arms. About face. Forward, arms. Detail. Oh. About face. Great.
But a big thank you for the cadets from Wilson Middle School Leadership Program. Thank you. Now for our next speaker, I want to recognize your state auditor, Auditor Colón.
"49 years. 49 years of life I've had. And as I stand before you on this occasion, there are not too many days that could be more significant than this day for me. Not just because it's a day that we honor our nation, our state, our service members, our public servants, our youth, but because for me this year is incredibly significant. See, it was nearly 30 years ago that my father was 49 years old. And that's when his life ended. So this is a very powerful and important year for me as I honor him with my service. I honor his legacy that I am and the man that I know that he would have wanted me to become. So when Dr. Howie Morales references my father, he understands the gravity of that for me personally. Many of you know that and know that story, but few of you know the story of my mother. And on today, it's actually my mother who also is with me and makes my heart just a little larger. See, because in the 60s, my mother, Charlotte Graham Colón, also known as Shelley, see, she was one of those few women who stepped up to serve her country in the military. And we've made progress. We're not where we need to be, but in the 60s, it was not what we think of today when women sign up for the military. She didn't speak about it much. I have her beautiful picture in her naval garb in my home that hangs prominently, but I don't have too many stories. And as I reflect and piece together little comments, I know because that service was hard, and I know it wasn't pleasant, and I know it was difficult for her each day of service. But today, as a graduate of the National Security Seminar of the Army War College, of which I know I have a couple colleagues, and our Adjutant General here, and so many people who serve with distinction, I take great pride in those of you who stepped up on this day that we raise the flags on this flagpole for the first time. So I'm grateful to be here as your state auditor, and yes, it is day 184 of excellence at the Office of the State Auditor. I could not be more honored and thrilled to have each of you here with us. And I can tell you that if you think in New Mexico, Mr. District Attorney, that people have yet in the year 2019 learned how to RSVP, you're wrong. So I highly encourage you to get back to the barbecue as soon as we're done. Which leads me to my next important point. It has been 184 days of awesome at our office because I have an incredible team. I have an awesome deputy who you will hear from a little later, but not much later, and they put me at the back end of the program, Senator Padilla. You know why? Senator Padilla has known me longer than anybody in this at this event since we were kids in high school. And I challenged him. I came back from Boys State and I said, Michael, I said, we've never had a Boys State governor from Los Lunas High School. I just got back from Boys Nation, and I want you to be the first governor elected from Los Lunas High School at Boys State. And you know, Michael never takes a challenge. But I'm so honored to say that he took that challenge. He went to Boys State. He was the first governor of Boys State from Los Lunas High School back in 1990 or so. Yes. Just a couple years ago. So they put me at the back end of the program because they knew that I would see the heat on your foreheads and that I would try and keep my remarks short. And I will do that because I just want to offer words of gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunity and honor to say that every constitutional office in the state of New Mexico deserves a beautiful flagpole like the one behind me. I'm honored to be able to thank my staff at the Office of the State Auditor, and I'd ask them to come forward and be recognized. I think some of them are standing behind me, some of them in front of me. Come forward to be recognized by the great folks here. Did they all go back to work already? Huh? Come on forward, be recognized, please. These are some of the best public servants I've ever had the chance to know. Come on up, come on up. These are the folks that ensure accountability, transparency, and excellence every day while we oversee the audits of nearly 1,000 public entities on an annual basis. They do more with less than any team I know. And they have been plugging away and hard charging in times of difficulty for government service. When we have cut government service and their resources to the bone, these folks have worked harder and longer than just about anybody I know. We are finally, under this administration, showing gratitude and offering up resources. We've got our Deputy Chief of Staff to the Governor with us today, Diego, who's been fighting to put resources where it's necessary in public service and in public safety. And now he's on that fourth floor with our Governor, doing a great job. Diego, thank you for your service as a mero bombero. Huh? If you don't know what that means, ask your neighbor. It's a fireman. Huh? We're so proud of you. But I want to say thank you to our public servants. And that's really the takeaway for me today. I do this in the honor of our history and our state, but also in honor of public servants. In this climate, the tone at the top isn't always gratitude for public service. And we've got to change that. So many of you are civil servants in New Mexico, but some of you are not. Awesome respect that it once had and continues to deserve. See, when the person who gave me this pin is the widow of a mentor of mine. They both had distinguished 30-year careers at the Department of State. My mentor, Dick Munzer, led as a commercial attaché for the State Department under President Johnson. And Ophelia Munzer, my adopted mom, she served with distinction all over the world. And I wear his pin today in his honor and in honor of all civil servants, because when they were in civil service, it was respected, it was appreciated, it was valued. We understood that in order to have a strong nation, we had to have strong civil servants. But today, it's not the case. So help me in changing the tone at the top. Join Lieutenant Governor Dr. Howie Morales in changing the tone at the top and saying, we value you, civil servants of New Mexico. We couldn't be a great state in the greatest nation on earth without your work. So thank you very much. It was 170 years ago when we were a territory that the Office of the State Auditor was conceptualized. We needed an office that could stake out the assets and the property of our beautiful territory. Then in 1912, under President Taft, we had lots of discussions about what this office would represent. And thankfully in 1960, I believe it was, the Supreme Court made it perfectly clear what this office was all about. It was about accountability, transparency, and excellence in government. It was about making sure that we had a constitutional office that was completely independent and that served only one stakeholder day after day, and that is the office of the State Auditor. 100% completely independent, always fighting waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm grateful to the State Supreme Court in 1960, and I'm grateful for the team that stands behind me today as we execute on that mission and on that purpose. As I stand before you, I am humbled to have grown up in Valencia County and having lived the story of the vast number of New Mexicans, and have had so many of you stand by my side on this journey. When I look at this audience, I see so many people that for the last 20 years have said, yes, you can, Brian. Yes, we will pick you up. See, running for state auditor wasn't my first bid for office. And those of you, my tiny donors, you know, finally, huh? Finally, you made a good bet. And my job, not just in the past 183 days, but in the next 3.5 years, is to make you proud. To make all New Mexicans proud of their government. Not just of the office of the State Auditor, but of our government that serves us every day under these beautiful flags. So know that I need you to hold me accountable. Waste, fraud, and abuse doesn't have a party affiliation, and neither does this office. And I need you and want you to hold me accountable to that mission. I will work hard to make sure that you understand that your investment in this office by your presence today is one that you will take pride in for years to come. Just like the pride you have in the flag of the United States of America and the flag of the beautiful land of enchantment, Estado Nuevo México. Gracias a todos por venir y tengan buen día. Vamos a comer. What else do we have? Don't go away. Don't go away. We've got just 1 or 2 more items. I'm going to turn this back over to my Chief of Staff, Chris Katechis, and I just will close with saying thank you. Gracias. Gracias a todos. Before I give them the microphone, see, this is what they didn't want to have happen. I just want to say that I met, you know, I told you about my dad. He died at 49 because he had the debilitating disease called muscular dystrophy. And this year I'm committing my public service and my fundraising to benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And this year, just last week, I was able to go and be with some incredible children at the Muscular Dystrophy Association summer camp, where they allow these children to be themselves and to do things that other children get to do every day without even reflecting. And today I'm honored to be able to be joined, and you can see in your program 2 of those students, a little brother-sister dynamic duo, have joined me because Josh took my heart away when we were at camp. That's my guy. Josh is my guy. He's going to come up with his sister Marie. So know that these young people were not randomly selected. These young people have a special place in my heart, and I hope that you will fall in love with them the way I fell in love with them. I want to thank them, and I want to thank their family for joining me today. I'm grateful for you. And Joshy, I'm in your corner every step of the way, baby.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, your State Auditor, Brian Colón. This is him every day. This is. Okay, before we conclude the ceremony, I want to ask up Josh Barella, Maria Barella, to help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag.
All right, Marie and Josh. Come right down the center, Josh, like you own the place. Josh, you doing good?
Yeah.
How about a round of applause for Josh and Marie? Are you ready to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, everybody ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank.
And to lead us in the state pledge is our deputy, Natalie Cordova, Deputy State Auditor, and her son, Ivan.
Thank you, and my husband as well. Please come up.
Look, it's a family affair.
It's about family. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Saludo la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México, el símbolo Zia de amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas.
Thank you very much. And I saw that Secretary White from Homeland Security came in, so I want to make sure that we recognize her as well. Thank you for being here today. Oh, Secretary Badia Jackson as well. Okay, well that concludes today's ceremony. We have plenty of food and cold water in the back. And thank you all for coming in. And Auditor,
How about my son? Hit it. Hit it.
Oh, yeah.
Frankie V. Hit it. Hurry. Ándale. Corre, corre, corre. Where's my Roberto Griego?